What is up, football fans, but most importantly, Houston Roughnecks fans? Welcome to the Roughnecks Rundown. This is an emergency episode. We have big news coming from the media call today with Coach Curtis Johnson. I was in there. I got the news for you. I even got some clips of it. Let's get into it.
I'm in the big leagues. Told them don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly.
Now, the news today, some of it is good and some of it is bad, but let's just get into it. So the two topics we have, QB1 has been named. This is something that everybody has really been wanting to know ever since, we started doing this. The Houston Roughnecks, we had 3 new quarterbacks last season, or coming from last season to this season. We had Reed Sinnett, Nolan Henderson, and Jarrett Garantano. Now, a lot of people want to know who's going to be the starter. I have that news. Then we have a possible huge loss, and spoiler alert, his picture's right there. But let's get into the first news. Quarterback Jarrett Garantano has been named the starter. Here's a clip of Coach Curtis Johnson proving it himself.
I'm glad you asked. We named Jarrett Garantano. He's going to be our starter. Reed Sinnett, Nolan Henderson will be backing him up. I think it was a great competition all camp long. We thought, man, it was one day it was Nolan, one day it was Jarrett, one day it was Reed. But in the end, I think the body of work that Jarrett put forth, I think he deserves to start. And whoever's the backup, we're going to play him too. We're going to play both of them. You'll see them in the first game, second quarter, it'll be third series, something like that. But man, I thought Jarrett played extremely, extremely well.
All right. So a little bit about Jarrett Garantano. Curtis Johnson earlier said that Jarrett has the biggest arm on the team. He's somebody, he explained how it would look if each quarterback started. If Jarrett started, it was that he has a huge arm, that they would really try and creep the defense up with Mark Thompson, and then they would try and throw it over their head. They have a lot of speed in Cyril Grayson and Justin Hall, deep threats in Anthony Ratliff-Williams and Stephen Dunbar. So he's a guy who's really trying to air it out, really trying to just extend the field deep ways, north to south, because if we have running backs like Mark Thompson, Tion Evans, TJ Pledger, who are explosive between the tackles, they will have to bring up linebackers. They will have to shade a safety over the middle, make sure that they don't let a big run go. So Jarrett would be the quarterback to absolutely launch the ball over it. Not to mention, he's also very, very mobile. Absolutely, I would say he's the most mobile quarterback of the 3 that we have. I would say the shiftiest is probably Nolan Henderson. But if we're talking a straight mobile, fast quarterback, it's going to be Jarrett Garantano. A little bit about him. He's 26 years old, 6'3", 228 pounds, big arm. So he came out of Tennessee. He then moved over to Wazoo, Washington State. In the SEC, he wasn't refined enough yet. He turned the ball over a lot. He moved over to Wazoo. He put up good numbers. And then he went and he had some time in the Denver Broncos camp and obviously the Arizona Cardinals camp. He's a guy who just really needed somebody to sit down with him and say, hey, you could be great. And Eric Price, our quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, is a quarterbacks guru. It's not talked about enough how much he can really get out of his quarterbacks. Last year, I really thought he could do it with Kenji, but there became questions about Kenji's work ethic and about, some other things off the field. So apparently Jarrett Garantano has come into camp, has absolutely worked his butt off, and he is going to be the starter week 1. Now, as you heard in the video, coach also said that whoever wins quarterback 2, which has not been decided yet, is going to also get some starts or some playtime. So they'll get a couple of plays, a series, here and there. But we're going to see a heavy dosage of Jarrett Garantano. This is spring ball, though. They can name a QB1 all they want. We saw the Pittsburgh Maulers in season 1 use dang near 6 quarterbacks by the end of the season. We saw the Michigan Panthers. They've used 5 quarterbacks over 2 seasons. So it's always very fluid. We used all 3 of the quarterbacks we had last year on the Houston Gamblers with offensive coordinator Eric Price and head coach Curtis Johnson, Montel Cozart, Terry Wilson, Kenji Bahar. All 3 of them played. Terry would come in just to run the ball sometimes. Montel would come in just for a different look at quarterback. So we're definitely going to see all 3 quarterbacks. I believe all 3 have to dress out during the games anyway. So we're going to see them all, but we're going to see a lot of Jarrett Garantano. Now, on to the next piece of news. I'll let Coach tell you first.
Mark Thompson had a little bit of a hiccup. He got a little bit of a knee sprain, and we'll see where he is. But other than that, man, we got good running backs. Mark's done a good job. Taiwan, he's the one guy that, man, Evans, he's a guy that I'm truly, truly impressed with. TJ Pleasure's always been good. And man, we found Kirk Merritt, and he may be, the people from New Orleans and the people from Miami Dolphins told me he'll be a special third down back. He's doing really, really well.
All right. So as you heard from Coach Johnson, Mark Madness, man, we're into March, March Madness. We got some Mark Madness. There has been some rumors about Mark ever since he posted Arlington has the worst field. So he posted a video of a play where he kind of hit the hole, was going, half speed, ran into a defensive tackle, no big hit, no nothing. And the defensive tackle just kind of whipped him to the ground for no reason. He posted that on his story, said that he wanted to start a fight, but he didn't because he respects CJ too much. Great to hear. But then he posted about Arlington has the worst field, and people started thinking, okay, does that mean that you have an injury? If you're, complaining about a field, sometimes that means ankle, knee, all that stuff. Then on his Instagram story, he posted a picture of x-rays of his knees in a doctor's office. So I reached out to Mark. I said, okay, hey, what's going on? And he said, I've had better media training than that. I can't just give you that info. I said, yes, I know that. But, what's happening? And he said, I'm just waiting on results right now. So he didn't want to blow anything up. He didn't want to, assume, hey, I tore my ACL or something. But apparently it's a knee sprain. So right now, the official news is that it's a knee sprain from Coach Johnson. And that's great news, honestly. I've kind of been waiting for him to show up on the IR list. We had Abram Smith. He tore his ACL, is out for the season. And that was a huge blow, not just to the defenders, but to the league. You don't like seeing big names, great guys like that go down. So I thought, man, this is going to be terrible news. I've been watching the PR, posts that come out every night of the transactions. And I was expecting Mark to move on to IR, especially when yesterday or 2 days ago, Sunday, I don't know when, I saw on Mark's story that it looked like he was back in his hometown in Florida. And that's not great. But I then heard from other players that players have been taking vet days. It's a short camp. I've also been hearing that the Roughnecks have been going incredibly hard at camp. The last 2 seasons, I heard a lot of, we're not practicing that hard. We have to keep guys healthy. Apparently, Roughnecks camp is not for the weak. It's been going very hard. So Mark literally may have just flown home for the weekend. He's rehabbing. He figured I'm not going to practice anyway, so might as well go see my family before I come back for the season. We hope he's going to start week 1. If he doesn't, then we have TJ Pleasure and Tion Evans. TJ Pleasure literally started for Mark the first 2 weeks of last season on the Houston Gamblers because Mark was injured and then had personal issues and missed the first 2 games. And then Tion Evans has come in. Coach Johnson said in that media call that Tion Evans has absolutely impressed him. I've heard that from Mark himself, that Tion Evans has absolutely impressed him. I think if Mark is down, I think Tion Evans could be running back 1 going into week 1. Then we have Kirk Merritt, who is running outside receiver, slot receiver, running back. Curtis Johnson said in that media call that Kirk Merritt might also be running third down back. So we will still have a room of 3 running backs, whether or not Mark starts. I think if he doesn't play week 1, we'll see a lot more Kirk Merritt because he's a bigger guy. He can run up the middle than we would if Mark didn't start. But that's the big news. Emergency episode. Not necessarily the emergency episode that you want to hear from me. QB1 news is great, but then hearing that your star running back might be out, that's not awesome. So let me know what you think. Do you think we'd be okay if Mark's down week 1, if he's not playing? Do you like that Jarrett Garantano has been named as QB1? Would you prefer to see Nolan Henderson, Reed Sinnett? What is your thoughts? Let me know. I'm always watching the comments. I'm always responding. Rough them up, guys. Let's hope for the best.
I'm in the big leagues. Told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Hey, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the UFM United Football Media. If you like that, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you want more videos, you can check them out on our channel over here. The best one for you is right here. And then if you like mine, the rest of my playlist is right here. Thank you guys, and I hope to see you next time.